Hi guys, crypto may be intimidating for most investors, but not for my friend Alvin, who is a huge investor into crypto. You may have seen it appearing in many of Darren's videos. So when are you starting your YouTube channel?
Well, when are you quitting your YouTube channel?
Today we'll be talking about crypto investments. Can you explain how was your investment journey like?
So when I started out investing seriously, right, obviously there's a period where you learn about investing and whatnot, right, trying to explore. I mean, the serious period is about like 2015, 2016. That's where I started looking into stocks.
Right.
So actually back then it was actually very interesting. The resource for investment are very dry. There's no YouTube channel like yours back then, right, to kind of summarize and deliver content in very digestible manner, right? So 2015, 2016 is really about finding what is a good way to actually get into the market and in what kind of vehicle, right? So, and to me, investment is really about risk allocation, right? Finding investment with kind of good risk, right, but with an asymmetrical upside, right? So that's how I learned about Tesla back in the days. But actually, fun fact, I got into a company called SolarCity first, right, and then it got acquired by Tesla, and then I got a bit more skin in the game for Tesla, and then that's how I learned a bit more. And that was like back in 2015, 2016. So again, I think having a skin in the game is also important, so that you will learn a bit more. You will invest time to understand about the technology, the platform, right? And it's really understanding what the future generation wants, right? And then that's usually the trajectory of the product or the services that will grow into. Yeah. So I've been investing for about 7 years. Yeah,
Right.
thereabout. Yeah. I started in the US stock market because I find that there isn't anything interesting in the Singapore or Hong Kong stock market,
Right.
which is, I think most people would start there first for Singaporean back in the days, right? There's nothing like a Mumu or Tiger where you can just sign up and very easily get stock. Hashtag non-sponsor. It's true, right? Back then it was very there's a bit of hurdle to jump through. So that's how I also look into over time investing into looking beyond stocks, right? Where the opportunity are, and that's how I kind of learned about cryptocurrency back in the days. Yeah.
So you invested very early on into Bitcoin. While for people like me, right, I actually got into it quite late, at 2020. Do you consider that kind of early investment a YOLO investment, or is it a real investment?
Yeah, actually 2020 is not late, I feel. Yeah. In hindsight, I think maybe 10 years later, you'll find this to be one of your best investment, right? We never know, right?
Never know.
And that's how, and that's the fun part about investing also. And for me about Bitcoin, right, I actually knew about Bitcoin very early on, or I got exposed into, or understand what it is, right? Back in 2010, 2011, when I was still studying. I think it was like a few dollars back then.
Right.
But bear in mind that it's a very early technology. There isn't like an exchange back then, right? And setting up a Bitcoin wallet takes you a lot of energy, right? To find out even how to start, right? It's not as easy as you now download an app and then you can get a software wallet up and running. I mean, there isn't a lot of liquid in the market also. I mean, there's a few dollars. And so it didn't really interest me. And I was very dismissive because I think I came across Bitcoin in a Gizmodo article.
Okay.
Back in like 2011, right? And then they're talking about like what Bitcoin is a money that no one controls, right? It's freedom money and it's peer-to-peer, right? And to me, it's like very new concept, right? The decentralized kind of money, right? And then who decide how much it is, right? I have like all these kind of questions that people are asking me now. Slowly over time, I kind of forget about it because I was dismissive and then like, okay, it's not gonna work, right? Until in 2014, 2015, I believe, there's a hack on a major exchange of Bitcoin. It's called Mt. Gox. And then I'm like, I thought Bitcoin is like unhackable, right? So I went to read a bit deeper, right, and try and understand like why and what. And then back then, I think it was about $1,000. So I'm like, wow, like from a few dollars a few years ago, and then now it's like $1,000. It's like a few 100x already. Right. So I say, if you can get to $1,000, then there must be something right about it, right? And that can be said when Bitcoin hit at 10,000, 20,000, 30,000, right? If there's no value, then it wouldn't hit that valuation and kind of have that momentum to sustain for so long. So something to consider. And then there's a bit of organization or commercial adoption as well back then. I think Wikipedia also started accepting Bitcoin back then. So it's like there's really some value, right? In Bitcoin, people are exchanging Bitcoin as a medium of exchange, right? It's storing value and then it's exchanging hand. And then so I said, okay, I'm gonna spend the next few months or even years studying about Bitcoin, and then reading the white paper. I actually find the white paper to be very, in a way, it's a very elegant solution, where it takes into smaller solution from many different sort of paper back in the days, and kind of fuse it together into one big solution that can transfer value, decentralize, and people can, as much as possible, review every single part of the component, the code, the transaction, the wallet, right, the balance and things like that. I think I joined at somewhat the right time. There's a lot of innovations and a lot of event happening back in 2016, 2017, which I followed through, right? And it made Bitcoin also easier to use over time. The Bitcoin developers spend a lot of time just improving the experience so that you can get more people on board, right? So that's why now you can download an app, right? You can set up a wallet so fast, because these are proposals that Bitcoin developers put through, right? And they are able to bring so much more utility at the end of the day. So things like your seed phrase, your private key, right? That doesn't exist back then. You have to have like a wallet file. It's very complicated, right? And then over time, there's like time lock. You can even lock your Bitcoin so that no one can spend it until predetermined amount of time. So a lot of signature upgrade and also component upgrade like SegWit, right? So I actually bought my Bitcoin back in 2016. That was about 500, 700 on average. That was my first Bitcoin. So back then it wasn't a YOLO trade when 2016 when I first bought my Bitcoin. I see it as a speculative asset, but one with a good amount of risk, but the reward is so much more.
Right after Bitcoin, you move on to Cardano next. Why do you jump from Bitcoin to Cardano? Why not like Ethereum, Solana?
Actually, I realized that for Cardano, it's a very interesting project. I'm not saying that Ethereum and Solar is not good, right? I hold some of these cryptocurrency as well. It's just that for Cardano, from a first principle point of view, they really rethought of like how a system should work. A smart contract platform should operate, right? Down to what the consensus algorithm should be like, right? Is it proof of work or proof of stake, right? How do you scale? And what is the sequence of building the product, right? So a lot of these projects out there, they try and build things independently, and maybe in parallel also, and have a project that grows really fast, right? But at expense of something, maybe security, maybe user experience, right? So while Cardano itself, there isn't a lot of, like decentralized apps on users, but I think it will come once that it can prove the value, right? And it's building, right? It launched its smart contract platform just I think last year, right? And then they're working on scaling the network now. So it kind of reminds me of my early Tesla days, right? Where Tesla is also a company that builds from the ground up, right? Thinking of every element as it should be. And in the case of a smart contract platform, what are the necessary element you need? Well, Cardano is one of my bigger holding. Actually, fun fact is, I think 2 years ago it wasn't. It grew so much that now it's the dominant majority part of my portfolio. So, and in a way, I also try and avoid confirmation bias because I earn so much and therefore it's good. Not that. I still look into a lot of what's happening in the ecosystem, right? What are they trying to do, right? And in the case of scaling now, what are the different initiatives are they building? For the companies that are building on Cardano, like what do they see value in? So I talk to people who are in the space, and I find that there's a lot of value there. So with Ethereum and Solana, it's there's pros and cons for every project, right? Transaction time, consensus model, is there any code risk, right? Which might result in a hack, for example, right? Supply and how distributed the project is. So all these are the consideration that I have in when I kind of scale in and out. I mean, after all, we are looking for a project that would work out well, and then hopefully yield us a good amount of profit, right?
Right.
At the end of the day. But for me, it's really also about the cost. Building something that's really for future and something that has utility. I think they are taking one step at a time. They are looking at, okay, how do we do, like the first step, how do we do a good consensus algorithm, right? Proof of stake, how do we do it, right? And then the event we need to roll out our staking mechanism, right? The stake pool, right? What is the right way or the right sequence to do it? Because without these, you can't do decentralized apps, right? Because you need someone to actually run the nodes, bundle up the transaction, and then how you sequence it, right? And who gets chosen, right? All these things, there are very sound mathematical function behind these, right? So it needs to be planned out well, and there are dependency. So the next stage can't happen until you solve this. So so far so good. There are a lot more update for Cardano for sure. Especially with scaling and I think eventually governance. How do you make sure that it's really decentralized, right? Even with deciding what's the next step for Cardano. So I find it to be very interesting in that space.
You have a huge portion in crypto. Are you not worried about losing your money?
Crypto asset in general, you have to recognize that it's a very volatile asset, right? If you zoom out, the general trajectory it's going up. So I don't really care about the everyday volatility. It doesn't affect me that much, right? And then what's scary to me is like not losing money in crypto. It's about losing spending power when you keep it in dollar, right? Over time due to inflation and all the monetary policy that's happening, right? I mean, as a first world nation ourselves, I think we cannot immediately appreciate the value of, say, Bitcoin, another crypto asset, because we have a very sound infrastructure, right? If we need credit, we can go to a bank, right, and get some money for, say, HDB, right? And get a loan very easily. If you want to have a saving plan or investment plan, the bank can probably do up something for you as well. But not so much for the third world country or country that's struggling, especially with their financial system, right? If you ask people from Venezuela, Greece, Russia, Turkey, right, they'll probably tell you that, oh yeah, Bitcoin is actually a very good store of value for them, right? Because of inflation. I think they're experiencing at least like 30-40% of inflation rate, right? And some even at 1,000 for Venezuela. So they immediately they know, okay, this is something that is useful, right? So I think the value of Bitcoin, rather, it's not really for, you can't really quantify it always in dollar value. You need to look beyond the dollar value and say that what is the utility behind it.
Right.
And I'm kind of subscribed to the notion where Bitcoin is freedom money. It's a people money.
One question I have is like, if Bitcoin hedge against inflation, by right now Bitcoin should have been going up because the inflation is going up. But why did it drop from like 60k to 40k instead?
Right, I think there's also a lot of market emotion at play also.
Right.
And bear in mind that a lot of these are also retail investor. So there's also the fear factor, right? When market drop, I think all the market will drop. Right. I think over time, what's interesting is to see that when a market crash, everything crashes together, but which one recovers the faster.
Right.
And I am almost certain that a form of crypto asset.
Since you are a crypto investor, what do you want to say to those who are Tesla investor? Have fun.
I think Tesla is also a good investment, right? But again, what is the upside that you're expecting, right? Will it 100x? Unlikely not. No, I mean, like, you keep your sort of reality in check, right? It's probably not gonna 100x, right? If you're finding the 100x, then Tesla is not for you, right? But they are doing great things to change the world for sure. And if you agree with what they do, and I mean, they do have very sound fundamental now, unlike like 5 years ago. Yeah, you can invest in Tesla. It's almost like a guaranteed win already, I feel.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah.
So in short, like, I think Tesla is sort of a lower risk play compared to crypto.
Yes, correct. Or why not like look for the next big thing, things that not like people are not talking about it yet, right? could be like NFT maybe.
What exactly is the use of Bitcoins for people like us, like in the first world? Like I own Bitcoin, but all it does is sit in the wallet and do nothing.
Yeah, I think let it do nothing. I think that's my advice,
Right.
because that's the safest thing to do.
Right.
Right, because over time you see exchange getting hacked,
Right.
right? And by that no means it's like Bitcoin's fault, right? Essentially what you're doing is like handing your Bitcoin over to someone and say that, hey, help me grow my Bitcoin,
Right.
and anything can happen, right? Not your keys, not your coin.
Right.
So I say the best thing is to do is to perhaps let it idle, right? And over time the value will also go up.
So to us, right, the purpose of crypto is just to grow our wealth in a way.
Yeah, I mean, like, there's utility, you can use it also, right? Why not use it? Because that's
Use Bitcoin?
Yeah, use Bitcoin, like not to pay for coffee and
Right.
and things like that. I mean, like, there's a whole digital economy, right? And I don't see Bitcoin itself as the only one asset class that you hold that you can keep your value.
Right.
Right. I think there are very good platform as well. Or I mean, like, if you're just looking at store of value, then it would be Bitcoin.
Right.
But beyond Bitcoin or store of value, there are like smart contract. Using this platform, you can, if you want to like stake it to earn some passive income, you could also, and then you still keep you still keep your own coin,
Right.
or your own crypto asset, right? So I think it's safer that way.
Obviously, you know that Bitcoin has value, but how do you value Bitcoin? Like, why is it 40k now? Why not 5k or even 100k right now?
Yeah. Okay, so like, how do you value fiat currency, right? So you have to ask yourself that, right? Why is $1 $1? And fiat, as the name suggests, it's trust by decree,
Right.
and not by merit. So it's not the value itself that's creating value. It's because some central government or some central authority say that this $1 is $1, and everyone agrees that it is $1, and hence it's $1, right? So it doesn't win by merit, right? And if it wins by merit, it's something like Bitcoin, right? That no one says that it's $1. Everyone agree that, okay, it's $2 now, it's $3 now. The market decides the price, right? And it's less about why I think it's like 40k and not 100k. I think collectively we decide on the price, right? So if today there's a massive use case for Bitcoin, right, I'm sure the price will go up, right, because of the demand for Bitcoin. Price itself is a byproduct, I feel, and the utility delivers the price. If tomorrow everyone think Bitcoin is worthless, then it's worthless. It doesn't it doesn't matter what I think it is. Why I think it's like 40k now, not $5, not 100k. I think we're working it together as a community. We add value together, right? We look at the network effect, right?
Right.
The more user there is, there's more apps, there's more company building on Bitcoin, the better.
So I think what I'm trying to find out is like, is Bitcoin overvalued? Is Bitcoin undervalued?
I mean, if you ask someone who holds Bitcoin, you will definitely say that it's undervalued,
Right.
because they really understand the value of Bitcoin, and you see it less of a trading mechanism, right? A mean to trade. That's it, right? I think for me, Bitcoin means so much more, right? Giving people the freedom to transfer their money. I think 2-3 years back, when I'm trying to buy cryptocurrency on Coinbase, right? I think one of the bank tried to block the transaction and say it's not approved, right? And so that begs the question, right? If it's my money and I decided to buy something that I want, right, why shouldn't it be allowed?
Right.
So in a way, there's a bit of that suppression in the current monetary system, right, which would not exist in Bitcoin because it's so distributed, right? No one guy makes the decision.
Currently, the government is trying to regulate it, right? How will it affect like crypto in general?
Generally, it's good. I mean, there's two type of regulation. You can almost put it in two camps. One is regulation that will help with adoption. So while at the expense of, say, a bit of privacy, so it's no longer anonymous, right? When you create a wallet, you kind of identify yourself to that. But I think in a way, more people will get on board, right, and learn how to use the technology, and that's how it go. And then there's another kind of regulation, is suppression regulation. So it's like trying to make sure that you don't use Bitcoin.
Right.
Those are bad. But so far, those that I think Singapore implemented, I think it's kind of good in a way. It helps people to say that, okay, government is regulating it, and it makes it safer
Right.
to actually trade Bitcoin now, right?
Right.
And I don't mind trying, instead of seeing it as a underground currency,
Right.
right?
It's
So
getting recognized by governments. That then
Yeah, and
it's a good thing.
correct. And then you see that getting recognized by S&P 500 company also. They're putting on their balance sheet.
Right.
So, and people are starting to actually question like, hey, why don't I give Bitcoin a chance, right? Look a bit deeper, like what is it doing, right? And I'm sure it's doing something right. Otherwise, company will not hold it in their balance sheet.
What will it take for Bitcoin to be replaced, like maybe some altcoins like Nano, for example?
Yeah, I think first you have to recognize what the cryptocurrency or crypto asset is doing, right? And if you compare like Bitcoin to Ethereum, then I say it's not a fair comparison, right? You can say that, oh, Ethereum has a larger market cap and hence Bitcoin is going down. I think it's not that. And crypto asset is not a zero-sum game. It's not like, okay, Bitcoin will dominate the whole market.
Right.
As we see over time, Bitcoin dominance is falling. Right, and that's because there's more people coming into the decentralized space and building on different ideas, right? Beyond, I think the first good idea is actually sound money, right? And then people are actually building like exchanges, even like Spotify in the decentralized where artists can get their fair cut. So things like that is actually I think very promising, right, in that space. But if you say that what it would take to replace Bitcoin, I'll say that there's this thing called blockchain trilemma, where there's decentralization, scalability, and security, right? So these are the three elements that what makes up a good sort of blockchain, right? And it's almost like in the current state now, you can only choose two of the three, right? So and I think Bitcoin lacks on the scalability part, and as much as people see as a downside, like Bitcoin can't scale, I see it as a merit, right? Because it's taking security so seriously that it's not willing to sacrifice security with say block size or trying to scale, right? Because to scale, you almost have to trade something for that scalability. And in this case, it will be decentralization, like a lower decentralization or lower security. So both, I think, the general consensus is, it's doing fine now. It's storing values as it should, right? And it's locking like about $1 trillion market cap now, right? So you don't really want to mess it up, I feel, by saying that, oh, we need to scale. That presents a void, right, where a project can actually fill that gap, right? That can be a currency that can do quick transaction, lower in value, faster speed, right? And that can be, I mean, a lot of people are exploring to that space as well, right? So again, not one crypto to rule it all. Again, you have to identify which industry that crypto project is operating in. And then in the case of I think money, Bitcoin over time, it will still be here to stay for a very, very long time.
Right. So from what I researched, Nano sort of solved that trilemma problem. I feel that the thing that's stopping people from moving over to Nano is the community. Like you are not seeing S&P 500 companies adopting Nano or countries adopting Nano. So I think that's the barrier from blocking Nano becoming the top crypto.
So nano valuation can go up. It can go up a lot more, right? And one of the hardest to build is not the product itself, right? It's the community.
Right.
So you're right. So I think in a sense, Nano can still fill that void or that gap, but people need to recognize that Nano is a form of like quick and fast value transfer, right?
That is selling point.
And people need to agree. I mean, like if no one uses, then it's pretty much useless. So, but there is actually a good community that recognize that Nano for what it is, the value. So I think within that community, they are also building and doing a bit of marketing also. So, I mean, I'm not like a Bitcoin maxi or I say that Cardano only, right? I think everyone is doing great for the community, and there's a lot of hate in the space already. It's like, oh, I am in this camp and therefore I don't like you. It doesn't need to be like that, right? I think everyone is working towards a very noble cause, right? The more we help one another, the better it is, I feel, over time, right?
Following up, there are some viewers questions. Viewers questions, How to decide which crypto to buy? Like, should they buy Ethereum, for example, or Time Wonderland?
I mean, like, to buy crypto is very subjective, right? it's like, okay, I want to get into the tech stock.
Right.
Which tech stock to buy, right? I think you have to read up a bit or research a bit on a domain of within crypto itself.
Right.
So for example, are you into DeFi? Are you into NFT? Right. And then within DeFi, there will be like lending and staking protocol, and you'll be familiar with that, what's happening over the past like 6 to 12 months, right? And you know how events pan out in the whole industry. So I'll say that instead of saying that, oh, should I buy Ethereum? Should I buy Solana? Should I buy Cardano? Why not like us, like find a good space that you think you are passionate about, right? And then study that, right? And then build conviction over time. And that should be the frame of mind when you are doing investing, right? And not just jumping into every asset just because Kelvin says invest in Bitcoin. Yeah. So I think all in all, yeah, I mean, if you think Ethereum has value, buy Ethereum.
The next question, why invest in crypto? Why not stocks that have a real business that you can value, like Tesla, like Palantir?
Yeah. I mean, even for Palantir, it's also hard to valuate, right? To be honest, right? So I think that's the same for I think the crypto side of things. They're trying to mimic a company also, but in a decentralized manner. I mean, you build games and you develop software also. So you know that open source is actually a very powerful kind of movement, right? Where everyone can contribute to the project. And if you add value to the project, then your passion and your interest and your belief in that project will translate into value for you also. So I'll say that why crypto, it's because it's doing, I mean, for myself, I tend to look like 10, 20, 30 years down the road, and like what will make the world a better place, right? And I think crypto has a place to play in the digitization of the world, right? We have like, we've gone through the industrialization phase, right? And now we are going to full on digitization. So if I may make a prediction, I think like our passport, our deed inheritance, our contract in the future will be digitized, and you can't do it with current technology, centralized technology. It's you can, but it's not fair.
Actually, it's already happening, right? They use it for their identification card.
Yeah, I mean, like if you put it, we look at just Singapore. I think the OpenCert platform is built is hosted on Ethereum.
What's the OpenCert platform?
The SingPass, there's a certification platform where people can recognize, so that you know that okay, this is issued by the MOE or by Cambridge, whatever, right? On which year, and it proved that they are the authorized or governing body that issued the certificate, and hence it's true and only to you.
Okay.
Yeah. So there's that bit also where I think over time the world will become a bit more decentralized, right? Even for company, there's some merit to actually decentralize your whole organization, right? So rather than have a CEO makes decision and then the directors carry out their day-to-day tasks within their scope, right? You almost have a flat hierarchy where everyone and anyone can contribute, right? And then over time, you kind of see who are the one who has the most value in that organization, and people will start recognizing them as their leader, right? And the moment that they don't do a good job, right, you don't lose your title, you lose all the trust in the community, and then someone takes over the project.
So do you foresee like companies go all decentralized, or is it both centralized and decentralized have a place to play?
Yeah, I think they can coexist, and it should coexist, right? For me, there should be a degree of centralization, with a form of government, and that the same concept can be applied to organization as well.
Recently, the US started regulating crypto. How will the US regulation affect crypto?
I think we have to watch and see. Again, there's two camps of regulation. One is to help and speed up adoption, making it a bit more credible, the space a bit more credible as it should be. And the other, suppression, right? Making it, for example, illegal for people to use Bitcoin in the country.
So from what I noticed, US is the pro-crypto, and they are trying to understand it right now. A while ago, they had some Senate hearing about how to regulate crypto. So I think they are supporting crypto in general.
Yeah, in general. And I think the dollar will be digitized also over time.
Next question. Who would you recommend to invest or not to invest in crypto?
I think generally I'll say, invest in crypto, right? If you are not comfortable, then put in a small allocation, like 5 to 10%.
Right.
Yeah, and to start with, so that again you have skin in the game, you kind of understand slowly over time what it is. Otherwise, you probably won't follow some
Right,
news. As a general rule of thumb, I will typically invest something very small so that I again have a stake in it,
Right.
and then over time I'll start following news update and maybe do a bit of research, and then over time when I build conviction, then I increase my sizing on the allocation.
What is your investing style for crypto? Do you DCA or do you lump sum?
I mean, there's a very interesting strategy,
Right.
which is just blind DCA into Bitcoin, right? Over time, correlation is not causation, right? But
Right.
then if history is of any indication, and somewhat Bitcoin has a sound monetary policy, right? And it's fixed in code. So it can almost predict how things might happen in Bitcoin, right? Obviously, there's the whole macro thing about regulation and whatnot.
Right.
But if you look at the past 11, 12 years of Bitcoin, right? If you DCA every month, over time, maybe from because you won't start so early, maybe from the 5th or 6th year, right? You still be in profit, right? You don't care about the price action, not about the volatility. Zoom out, think long term, right? So I'll say that invest in crypto. I'll say it's a no-brainer. It's almost hedging yourself, right, for the future. What's going to happen in the future?
Right.
And I don't think there's any better place than in the crypto, and it's evolving faster than any of the industry out there, right? And they say that in the crypto world, days feel like week and week feels like month, right? And month feels like year, right? Because things are happening so fast.
Right. Which coins or tokens do you think have the potential to go up?
Yeah, I think just buy Bitcoin. I think it will 1000x in the next 2 years.
1000?
Just kidding. But no, so I think it's also how you find like what your expectation is. If you want 1000x, then you have to also recognize that the risk that comes along with it will be
Right.
significantly larger than say something that's 2x, right? So there are economy within the crypto world that hasn't matured yet, and that's where I think you can find your next 100 and 1000x. I think it's entirely possible, right? It's just that out of the million of projects out there, right, which are the handful that would have a solid foundation, right, and then leading into a good valuation over time.
So do you have any specific place where you look for this kind of projects?
Yeah, go YouTube,
Oh.
go respected, established publication. I tend to not just look at one source,
Right.
because the thing with opinion, right, it more often than not it can be biased,
Right.
right? So I'll say that especially in crypto, you want to keep your mind as open as possible. Just not be myopic, right? Just because something gives you profit and then you say that something is good,
Yeah.
right? And tend to be a bit more objective.
Yeah. So fun fact, actually I get people asking me to promote crypto every single day. And you just have to be careful where you get your sources. Some of it are sponsored stuff.
Some of it are sponsored stuff and
Yeah.
they don't tell you.
Yeah, correct.
And then it makes it so legit that you feel that, oh, it's gonna 10x or 100x, right? So again, go on Reddit, or read people's opinion,
Yeah.
right? And go on multiple subreddit, not just only one, because even within a subreddit, opinion can be suppressed as well.
Right.
Yeah.
Do you randomly buy all the coins?
Wait, how to answer that? I think this is a fun question. We should do a fun experiment. We just randomly buy coin and then we check back in a year. That would be fun.
I saw there was a Reddit experiment that's going on where the guy buys the top 10 cryptos every month. And so far, every year, the experiment gave him positive returns. I don't know how long it will last. It won't definitely every single year it will give positive returns. Yeah, so
So are we doing it?
which coins or tokens do you invest but fail or lose money?
So far in terms of losing money, no, because I think the time in market matters.
Right.
And for me, like you say, I entry quite early on. There's a cushion for me
Right.
now, right? So
Right.
I won't be in a loss. But if there's any current loss, right, paper loss, it will be in the NFT space, right? Because it's so young. But then there are project that I believe in the long term. It'll pan out well for them.
Right.
So it's a volatile market. We have to recognize that. I mean, if it's a loss, then you just have to recognize that it's a loss, and then you learn your lesson. But I think it's good to look out there. And for me, so far, most of the coins and tokens, I've not made any losses.
Yeah, mainly because you research before you buy.
Yeah, it's important. Yeah, try not to buy because your friend is buying.
Right.
Try and read into a bit of the project, it's doing. Buy small, right? And then if you have conviction, and then you start building on from there.
Right. You also mentioned about NFT, right? From my point of view, NFT feels like a speculative asset and it doesn't have any real value. Like I can just go and screenshot it and it's mine. So, right, why do you invest in NFT?
I think like I alluded earlier, the world will become more and more digitized.
Right.
Right. And then NFT is more than just showing a JPEG file. It's really about proving ownership. And the story behind that NFT for some of the assets. Because if you look from a NFT art standpoint, then you can almost only evaluate from like a creative or artsy lens, right?
Right.
But there are some companies that are trying to build NFT in a way that it is more than just art, right? And it's dynamic, it's fluid. Some companies are using NFT as like passes, right? Or even like stocks that you are a stakeholder in a company,
Right.
right? And then the NFT will bring differentiation in value because you can almost hard code the benefit in the contract,
Right.
right? I think it's still early, so you're right, it's still a speculative economy right now in the NFT space. But I think it's here to stay, NFT. If you don't just view it from that is an art piece, as a JPEG file.
Right.
Yeah.
Do you sell all your earnings or profits from your successful coins and move on to like stable coins or stocks?
No. Like investing is about managing your risk, right? And allocating your capital so that it yields you the profit you want, but at the level of like comfort zone, the risk level that you're willing to take. So I do scale in and out of project, right? And that's speculative trading,
Right.
And but in most part, it's in, I think, stable asset class within the crypto space,
Right.
Like Bitcoin. And I think over time, it will prove itself. So and I don't need to worry that too much. So I just let it sit idle. While I move from time to time, I don't really like buy sell a lot these days.
Right. Yeah, basically holder for the long term.
Yeah, order for life.
There's this meme I saw. When do I need to sell Bitcoin? And the
Yeah.
answer is you don't need to when you are ready.
Yeah, when it's there, then it's there. You don't need to sell Bitcoin already. And why not think Bitcoin as your saving account? Why put it in the bank and saving in dollar, right?
Right.
Yeah.
How long do you hold on to your crypto investment?
Forever.
Forever.
Yeah, I think it's a market to stay in because it's much more open.
Right.
And I like open technologies.
So I think I also think that it's still a very young technology. Right now, if you are selling, chances are you might be missing out because there are tons of developments that is going on. Like even Cardano is not fully launched yet.
Yeah.
And yeah.
So are you bullish on Cardano?
I have a bit of Cardano in my portfolio. Not as bullish as Tesla, obviously. But I still believe in the project lah. So I put a bit in it. Do you believe that metaverse and Web 3.0 will take off in a few years' time?
Yeah. Also it depends on how you define metaverse and Web3.
Right.
So I think Web3 and metaverse are terms that people use very loosely. It's almost like maybe 10-20 years ago, people say that, oh, I'm working in the cyberspace. Like, what does it even mean, right? And I'm developing cyber apps, right? Or like cyber sites. So it really depends on how the community build on. So I think over time we do see that everything will become more and more digitized.
Right.
And then you have like a digital form of money, digital form of like an asset management tool, a digital form of your life, right? How cool is it if you can, at the end of your life, you can see your stats, like, well, like how much had you spent on McDonald's, right? These are things that are very futuristic at this point of time, but I do see the world moving in that direction. Yeah.
I think we have reached to the end of the interview. Thank you, Alvin, for joining me and answering all these questions. I'll be looking forward to inviting you again when Bitcoin ever reaches 100k.
Oh, you mean by end of the year?
So as usual, like, share and subscribe. I'll be posting every Monday, Wednesday and Friday. Okay, bye.